Okay, Dave, let's play D4 for a bit of variety. Very funny, very funny. I'll do something really sadistic. Shall I London system? No, I can't do that to anyone. What about H4 for a laugh? Knight C3 in that sort of Hebden style hack attack. Barry system. G4 is that move? Knight H3 to F4. And there's pressure on G6, then G3, bishop G2, C3. So G3 should be quite respectable after G3. Doesn't really want the queens off, does he? After E5. So G3, bishop G2. So Queen D3 for Knight G6. That's bishop F5. So maybe bishop G2 first, then Queen D3. Bishop F5, E4. Bishop moves E5. You could take and take the queens off. So forget that. What do we have here now? Interesting. I could play E4 here. E5. What about D5? Is that worth playing? D5. Possibly. I think I will play D5. Just to restrain E5. So C4, Knight C3, and it should be a nice position again. Bishop E3 to D4. Sort of virtually pin the knight unless he wants to start square weaknesses. Okay. It's a pleasant enough position. Bit of a bind. Knight's quite nicely placed. I'm not sure about that, doesn't look right. Looks a bit passive. So bishop E3, I haven't committed this pawn yet, so bishop E3 to D4. Looks logical. I don't want to weaken squares unnecessarily. Alright, so pressure on E2 is not a big deal, I think. So bishop D4, carry on with that plan. I've got to sort of lock in on E5 on the knight. Maybe I do want to play rook E1 at some point, or bishop F3, king G2, rook H1, G4 at some point, or A4. I don't know, tying down the queen side, or queen A4. Hang on a sec. Queen A4, forcing move again. Forces knight B8. No, he's got knight B8. Otherwise A7. That could be quite critical. So queen A4. Okay, what about? Okay. So B4 here is possible for queen A4. I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to force. I'm weakening C4. That's B5. A4. That's interesting. Give back C5, then there's A5 takes. I don't know if that's achieving anything. So positionally, what do I want to do here? Plan. B4. I'm just starting to weaken queenside squares. Go for a kingside attack. Bishop F3. Keep the queenside solid. Protect E2. Then Kg2 Kh1. I don't think really, I'm not convinced by that either. Go for the centre, Rook E1, E4, E5. That looks more convincing. Dangerous pawn here, D6 later. I think I'm going to go for that. I can good enough control over E4. B5 maybe A3. Forcing moves to consider, bishop C5, wouldn't want to do that, or bishop F6. But it does mean Queen A4 could be handy. At the moment it's like Rook A5, it's harmless, so Rook E1 I think. So E4 and then E5. This is not so loose, protected by the Queen, but that's the only thing protecting the bishop. E4, E5, takes. Actually then there's Queen D4, D6 undermining F6. That would be beautiful. If I get rid of this dark square bishop, it's got extra weaknesses already with H5. I want to just get pressure on E7 anyway. So E4, E5, beautiful plan. And it doesn't even matter about D5, it's extra protected by these two guys. Oh, there's knight D3. No, that's covered by knight on F4, thankfully. Whoa! Nearly blundered horribly. Knight D3. That could have been embarrassing. Better slow down. So E5. Okay, still good plan. Okay. So I can take that bishop off. That wanted that off. There's Queen D4 check now. It's got control over E5. Now, what about bishop F3? There's knight E5. Okay, knight E5 is a pain. This bishop's a pain. So what about A4 with knight B3? Make that exchange set with E5. Lose the exchange. Don't think that does much. Does it? Sort of weakens the king a bit. Bishop H3 here, knight E5. What about King G2 when he's on D3 again? What about Rook AD1 in advance of knight E5? Let's play Rook AD1 just to cover D3 for a moment. Bishop H3 are weak in F3. Forcing moves again, knight H5 doesn't really do anything here, takes. But an exchange set idea with knight H5 is interesting. Or like knight takes E5. He's covering everything now. Definitely covering E5, is introducing Rook C4, but there's Queen A4 forcing move here. Will the knight just go back? Maybe Queen A3. Threatening B4. I could test that. There's bishop C4, there's B3. Queen's nice on D4, but the queen is also a target. So Queen A4 might be annoying. Knight C5, Queen A3 is still annoying. Still covering D3 of knight and rook. Threatening B4 there. Do I really want the queen now? I'll just play B3. B3, Rook C8. E5 as well is covered. Bishop F1 might be worth considering, just weakening squares after the exchange. Knight B5 is on the cards. I'm weakening F3, I don't like that. So I think Queen could go with Queen A3. Queen A4. Queen A4. Okay. So there's a lot of pressure on the position after that move. That looks like a good move. What about Queen A3? If I make Queen A3 here for a moment, get the Queen out of any tempo gains with Knight C5 or Rook C4. Maybe E5 is on the cards at some point of taking on E7, the exchange sack. Get past D pawn. Also give me E4 square, this E5, but at the moment he's covering everything. Knight C4 is on the cards. And Knight B2, that's not pleasant. Oh dear, so Rook C1, oh dear. It's passive, it's gone passive, the position. Knight C4 is nasty. I think I have to anyway. The Knight on F4 is covering D3 for a moment. Maybe King, F3 and then Kh2 Bishop H3. Alright, so Queen B3. Knight D2, I don't think it's that crushing at the moment. Also there's Queen B4 to consider. Queen A4. I think Queen B3. Although that's horrible tempo gain, Knight D2. Queen back to D1. Knight C4. Queen B4. Rook C4, Queen A3. I was messing around with my queen here, annoyingly. Well, Bishop F3 targeting. Oh, Knight takes H5, stripping the king here. Takes Queen H5. That looks fun. Follow-ups. That's Queen G4. So King H2 first for Bishop H3, then Knight H5 would be good. But there's Knight G4 check if he wants it. I could check that. If he plays Knight G4, if he plays Queen G4, there might be F3 and then Bishop H3. So I think I'll play King H2. Is he really going to play Knight G4? Is he going to let me get this Bishop H3 and that'll be a nice diagonal for the bishop? Right, and get this Bishop H3 in. So Knight takes B2, it's a bit of a problem. Take on C8 and take on A6, so I can get this in. Whereas your Knight F3 is also getting particularly dangerous. If I get Knight H5, Knight B2, yeah, that's a problem. Which will expand the pressure exerted on C3 and B2, but maybe B3, just kick that knight if the queen does move. B3, where does the knight go? Then maybe Knight A4, change of plan. This Knight H5 is not that convincing. If my queen side collapses, you could just ignore it. You could just play Knight H5, you could play Knight B2. So I think if the queen moves B3, try and contest the C-file, new plan, B3 here. So Knight B2, I don't really want to do that. We can get to D3, Queen D2, get to D3 and fork both of our rooks. Whoops. Oh dear, I've just lost the exchange. Whoops. Knight B2 wins the exchange. Ouch. I thought I was a bit in trouble there. Oh dear. Queen to h6 and play bishop e6. Maybe. I was knight f3 check winning the queen. Whoops. End of game. He's just missed it. Oh dear, oh dear. I don't know. Getting tactically, positionally done over, but he's just missed knight f3. Alright, so I'm going to go for this plan of knight e6 or bishop e6. I'm going to cover f3 first. That was safety first. King g2. Oh dear, oh dear. Oh dear, just lose the exchange, fine. So, what about knight e6 here? Takes, and then I've got access queen h6, and then maybe f4 later. You can play rook f6. There's knight d5 there. Okay, I think I'll go for that now. Mind you, there's always knight f3. So maybe queen h6 here, or f4. Oh, it's gone again. Because knight f3, the knight takes e1 is check. Oh dear. Catalogue of errors in this game, I don't know. So knight f3, queen 8, I'll just lose a rook. Then he plays rook f6. There might be knight d5 though. Okay. So f4, f5 or something. Probably good in the circumstance to cover f3. It's queen d4, knight d5. Knight d5, queen d4. Knight g4, I just take maybe f5 and then f5. Right, so if I take that, so if I don't, I think I have to, the bishop's kind of useless otherwise. So f5. And there's knight d5 on the cards, queen d4. So it's only a bishop down, a rook down. So knight d5 and queen d4. Okay, or there's queen g5 actually. Queen g5 looks more relevant. So the dislocation here is unpleasant. Queen g5 is an immediate threat. Rook f6, knight d5. Or even h5. Okay, there's queen g5, bishop f7. I could just take that bishop, just beat the exchange down. But then queen c8. And he's going to play rook c2, so maybe queen g5 is better. Bishop f7, knight d5. Threatens actually f6. So h5 for hg and then f6. So I think I'm tempted with queen g5. Bishop f7, knight d5, rook c2 check. King moves. I've got a threat of f6 check there. Also h5. Is this really better? What about rook e3 or rook c1? And then carry on with queen g5. Rook e3 actually, after queen c8 I lose e6. So forget that, let's just go for this then. Let's be a rook down instead. Oh dear, oh dear. Alright, I'm on E7. I'll go for E7. Right, so Queen E3 for Queen D4. Or Queen E4 hits G4. Queen E4 maybe. Okay, I can stop that exchange. Oh, dear, oh dear. There's rook F5 here, isn't there? And this is Queen D4 check. Oh, dear, what a painful game. Queen D4 Kf8. This horrible pin. It's just the exchange up. He's not. He's going to see Queen F. He's going to see Rook F5, isn't he? Queen D4 King F7. End of game. So unless I sack the exchange and try and play that position. Okay, so let me do something about this horrible pin. Maybe H5 is useful. If Rook F5, then there's Queen E7. So I think H5. You can just take and protect G4. So Rook F5, Queen E7. There's no Queen C2. Right, if I'm thinking check here. So King F8, Queen H8. King G8, Queen E4 threatens Knight F6, winning the Queen, and protects C2 again. Good news is there's no Rook F5 here. Bad news is I'm still with the exchange down, and with a nasty pin diagonal. Okay. Knight E7's also on cards to win the Queen. King hasn't got any squares to run to. Rook C7 has Knight E7, winning Queen. Okay, Queen D4, Queen C2 is winning there. Oh dear. My king hasn't got squares to run to. Waiting move, A4 or something. Queen D3, anything else? I can't see any other waiting moves, otherwise I'm just getting mated because of Queen C2. That looks pretty grim actually. Queen D3 might cover a few things, I suppose. Queen C1 covers F1. If Rook F3, Queen D4, Queen D2. Actually, Queen D2 there. Alright, so Queen D3 it is. So Rook F3, Queen D2, try and get in all the dark squares. Protects F2 as well, bonus. So knight's pretty good on D5. That's good news. The other good news is getting a bit short on time, but my king looks as though it's not that safe with only one pawn against the two here and the F file wide open. This king could make a run for it to E8. Okay, there's Queen H6 here if I want to sort of test a few things here. Queen H6, King E8, check, King D7, then what? Nothing. What about Queen G5? There's Queen C2. Queen H5. Check. Okay, I don't want to. I need to get out of this pin. So I'm going to try and get out of this horrible pin. It's getting quite tedious. So my knight be able to move. Maybe that was the intention of the Queen C6, getting back that pin. So unpin and win. Got pin and win, unpin and win. Okay. We go back to D3 here. Let's rook F2. Oh, I'll invite that, shall I? Because king move to G1, attacking the rook. B4 for B5, just trying to evict that queen. Good square. He's just played rook F2 and it's got queen C1. What about knight F4 just blocking the rook? That would have been a fantastic idea. Funny I didn't spot that one earlier. There's knight G2, G4, I could take, G3 I could take. Okay, that might be. King's got a bit of comfort all of a sudden. Sort of. I'm on D6, which is useful here. Because otherwise that would be the end of the game there. Oh dear, oh dear. Oh, this is too dramatic. I don't like having this amount of time left. Okay, he's not super Gonzalez though, with his minute left just yet. Okay, can I just go the exchange down or not? Keep the queen on. Okay, A4 for a moment while I think about this. Okay, protect this. There's Queen C1. Also, what's that? Okay, he's opened up the H file. Rook's now attacked. So I've actually got that. There's no Queen H5, is there? Oh, Gould and Bennett. I'll play check here. I think it's a mouse race all of a sudden. Or I don't know. 56 seconds to 39. Off the draw. He's back to queen. That's not good. Can I keep these checks up? Draw. I think I accept the draw after all that. Oh, blimey, what a game. Oh, dear, oh dear. What a game. Oh. Dear, oh dear. Oh. That was a slightly more difficult game than the old 5-minute games. Blundering queen at one point, totally, to knight f3, was a bit embarrassing. Blundering the exchange was less embarrassing, but I think the main blunder was this knight f3 check here. Well, so yeah, the weakness of the last move for knight f3 check. Okay, then there was this episode of just being a rook down for a while. Then the exchange down was a bit of a painful episode as well. Then this nasty pin on the knight and the king not really being able to move. Then almost as if I was coming back in the game just for the f3 pawn to be the big new danger. So and then the perpetual checks phase, sort of reassuring that still might be a draw by perpetual check. Comments or questions on YouTube? Thanks very much.